John and Francis Ford Film Festival is back in Portland, and this weekend the celebrations will go beyond the city. It's an event that highlights Maine's rich Irish history and two of the more influential men in the early years of Hollywood. As Sam tells us, this year organizers wanted to focus on Francis Ford's success, a story that often gets overlooked.
Francis Ford was really the king of Hollywood in the early, let's say from 1914 to 1918. He was dominating out there. And his studio was so busy that he brought out people like his little brother John to help him. And that's where John got his start. And from there, he learned everything he knew from Francis. And you can see all of that in one of the films we're showing, which is The Post-Telegrapher. That's going to be up in Damariscotta, so it's a really special film to watch because you see those silhouettes in doorways, you see those wide open vistas, you see interesting horizons, and you see like this exquisite capturing of motion of horses and men and just in general, all of the things that John Ford is famous for.
The festival, it didn't get its start, 5-10 years ago. It was actually back in the 70s.
Back in 1970, an art professor at Gorham State Teachers College, now known as USM, Juris Ubans, who lived in the west end of Portland, put on a month-long John Ford Film Festival in Portland area, Greater Portland, and well beyond. And at least one film was shown every day for a solid month. So that was his homage to John Ford. He had one of the largest collections of celluloid film.
Yeah, John Ford knew about the festival as well, and he was planning to come. And at the last minute, he couldn't. And so he wrote a note to Juris in one of the programs. And we have a picture of that saying that he was very grateful for his interest in his work.
That is really, really cool. So what has changed about the festival since it first got its start, decades ago?
One thing that has changed is that people in Portland are starting to realize who John Ford was, that he was a Portlander, that his original name was Feeney, a good Galway Irish name, and that his older brother Francis changed the name to Ford because of prejudice against Irish Catholics back in the early 20th century. With the unveiling of the statue that a lot of people know in Gorham's Corner, and then also with Bull Feeney's pub that just recently closed down, people are slowly becoming aware of that name, who he was, and his significance to the city.
The other thing that we're doing is we're putting a highlight on Francis Ford, who was 12 years older than him, who left before John Ford was probably even aware of who he was. He was older brother. He went down to New York, and he was a tailor. So he was able to get acting jobs because he always had the right outfit. He could show up in a tux. He could show up in whatever they needed. And so that eased his entry into acting. And from there, he went to San Antonio and made Westerns and eventually landed in Hollywood, where he had a successful run with Westerns and then started to make mystery thrillers, and they were serials. So there would be like 15 episodes. People would go to the theater every week to watch them. And so he kind of created binge watching.
Oh my God, that's a great way to put it. Oh, that's fantastic. Is it just films? Are people going to come and watch movies?
So we start out with opening night. Each time we're going to show a Francis Ford film and we're going to show a John Ford film. The Francis Ford films are new restorations of lost or spliced together separate copies of films. Anyhow, they're amazing. So they're in higher resolution. They have new scores composed for them. So people can take a look at a silent movie for the first time in a very different way than they are used to if they've even watched one before. We then have a symposium on Saturday and Sunday at PMA. And there we have a whole panel of experts who will be in town, including Joseph McBride, who's John Ford's biographer, and Kathy Fuller-Seeley from the University of Texas, who is a Francis Ford expert. And we'll have both men's grandsons here as well, Dan Ford and Michael Ford.
No way!
Yeah, Dan Ford from Hollywood, and who used to summer on Peaks Island, but he's been away from Portland for a while, so we're so happy to have him back.
And Michael Ford has never been to Portland.
Ooh.
That is super, super exciting. And it's got to be exciting in general, just to be able to come together and celebrate your heritage, too.
It fits incredibly beautifully into the mission of the Maine Irish Heritage Center. And when people find out that, at least anecdotally, we're quite sure that John, was an altar boy at St. Dominic's Church, which is now our center, it makes the tie-in absolute. And he lived both in the West End and the East End, so there's not going to be any rivalry between the two parts of the Irish community.
Well, that's good to know. For more on the festival and the films, just head to the 207 section of our website or app, and we'll be right back.